You were diagnosed in 2021 with
Yes.
stage 4 cancer. What was the
Yes.
cancer that you were diagnosed with?
You're in such a state of panic and you're in such a state of what's going to happen to me. And then with the symptoms the side effects that I was experiencing, you don't have really time to pull your thoughts together because you feel like you're in a whirlwind and one thing is happening after another. And you're just, well, you mentioned earlier that cancer is different and chemo affects everybody different. And a lot of people have experienced a lot of different symptoms leading up to it.
You made mention that medicine, that natural medicine that you use to heal your body. Take us through that process and that journey. Give us these insights of what is this natural medicine that you took.
As I mentioned before, there are so many medicines. And one of the things, I had it right in front of me, I just got this book. I don't know if your viewers can see it. 25 Forbidden Cures, Uncensored Health. And one of the things that I was taking is...
We go into the podcast. I normally say a word of prayer. I can't start my podcast with it. Sometimes I do because I get heated for the discussion. But I always try to remember God before because my mom was a praying woman. And so I can't start the podcast without saying a word of prayer. So
That's good.
I would ask you if you wouldn't mind leading out in prayer for us.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Carry on.
Our gracious and most high Heavenly Father, we are overwhelmed with gratitude for another day that you've given us, that you've awakened us with your breath still in our lungs. For you said you breathed into man and man became a living soul. So every single day we are borrowing from your literal breath and we are so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for this young king wanting to share my story so that we both help bring your kingdom here upon this earth and that people are aware of your natural medicines and your power to still heal. I pray that you bless this podcast and that your spirit is with us. We are grateful for his mother, who I'm sure is watching and is very proud of the memory that he continues to show of his mom. Blessings on him. Keep a hedge of protection around him at all times. We say this in your gracious and holy sacred name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Guys who are on the live, can you please let me know if you are hearing loud and clear? So I'm going to get into your bio, Lynette. On your website, you have a bio, and on your bio, you state, God is using the worst journey of my life for his good and his glory. Diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in July 2021. I was told my scan are not the scan of someone who lives. I went through chemotherapy for approximately 6 months until it landed me in hospital with a blood pressure under 40, 60/40, right? And with organs begin to shut down after experiencing horrific side effects from the chemo, without surgery and radiation, and at the height of illness, I decided to stop all medication, choosing instead to live by faith and pursue natural medicine God put on the earth for our healing. And miraculously, the Lord healed my 12-centimeter cancer mass with 6 months. I was completely cancer-free in 1 year. I'm a wife to a wonderful husband, mother of 5 amazing boys. And you quote a scripture, and the scripture reads, and leaves of trees will be for healing of this nation. Revelation 22, verse 2. And the next scripture comes from Genesis chapter 1, 29 and 30. I have created every herb bearing seed for meat. Now, Lynette, your bio alone speaks volume. When I first read your bio, it brings chills on my skin, like literally cold bumps to start flooding. And your bio within itself is a testimony. But before we go into the bio, I want you to tell us, who is Lynette before your journey? Hi. YouTube have two ways to push your channel. With that said, I'm asking you two quick favors. If you like what I'm doing and want to support my growth, please give me a thumbs up so that YouTube could send my videos out to like-minded viewers just like you. 2. I've noticed that 70% of you who have revisited this channel have not yet subscribed. Please hit that subscribe button. That way my channel will grow. And my promise to you is to give you more content with substance just like these. Do we have a deal? Thank you. Journey with cancer.
Oh, that's a good question. Before my journey with cancer, I was a mom, wife, mother. I was born in the small island of Dominica, but I've been in this country in the United States for many years. And it's interesting because in Dominica, everything is natural. Everything is organic. There's plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, plenty of fish. I remember as a child, my grandmother, when we would get sick, she would just go pluck something off the ground or out of the tree, and that's how we lived. I mean, we didn't go to the doctor unless it was an absolute urgent emergency. And I never got sick. I was never in the hospitals up until my diagnosis. I was never in and out of doctor's offices. I'm on no medication previous to this and had no comorbidities of any kind. So getting that stage 4 diagnosis, I felt like I was hit by a truck.
So you were diagnosed in 2021 with
Yes.
stage 4 cancer. What was the
Yes.
cancer that you were diagnosed with?
So I was diagnosed with malignant neoplasm of the breast with metastasis carcinoma, and it started in my breast and it metastasized all the way through my body into my bones, and it had a 12-centimeter mass on my ovaries.
Okay. In your bio, you state that you was in the hospital, you was on treatment. But before we get into the treatment, when you got the news that you had breast cancer, stage 4 at that, and as what they said, stage 4 is basically just wish your people all the best, come see her, let her
Yes.
know that you love her, get the memories going.
Yes.
That is stage cancer for those who do not know. When you read stage cancer, that's the file that they will read out to you. When you
Right.
got that reading, how did you felt?
I was scared, like most people. I wanted to live, obviously. But prior to my getting my diagnosis, the strange thing is I wasn't sick per se. I was just I was starting to get tired, but my symptom was I couldn't go to the bathroom. And I was like, that's not like me. I could always go to the bathroom. Um, and that's what made me go to the doctor. And what I found out was the 12-centimeter mass that was growing on my ovaries had pushed against my colon. And that's why I had stopped going to the bathroom. And so when I got that diagnosis, she says to me, Lynette, your scans came back, your MRI, and it shows that you have stage 4 cancer that's already in your bones. And they told my family to just keep me comfortable because, as you mentioned, as you read earlier on my bio, my scans are not the scans of someone that lives. And so I only had a few months, and they told my family we were going to do everything we could to give her quality of life. But even they didn't believe that because they already had me scheduled for palliative care and for hospice because they knew that I wasn't going to make it.
When they referred palliative care and hospice to a patient, what is that for the patient?
So palliative care is because you're going to go through the treatment and the cancer is eating away at your body so much that you're in so much pain. Palliative care is helping pain management and starting the end of life process. And hospice is the end of life process.
Whoa. Whoa. I can't imagine how you felt when you were told that you was going to hospice.
It was the most devastating news I have ever heard in my life. I just, like you said, to be diagnosed with cancer is one thing, but to be diagnosed with stage 4 and to be told that your scans are not the scans of someone that lives, but we're going to do everything we can. My brain was just reeling. I couldn't get a grip. It was that bad.
Your blood pressure reading was 60 over 40. That is
At the end of that treatment, my chemo treatment, yes.
okay. So tell us about the chemo and the effect that it had on you.
So when I started the chemo, as I mentioned, I was never on any medications or didn't have any comorbidities. So my body didn't know medications. So when I started chemo, immediately the side effects started. I started getting diarrhea, vomiting. I started getting mouth sores really bad, and I couldn't eat. In 6 months, I lost 111 pounds.
Whoa.
I was in and out of the hospital for blood transfusion and hydration. I was just deteriorating every single week. It was just one thing after another. And it was just the worst thing. I don't know how people go through treatment for 2 years, 3 years, and they do all of that. My hat's off to them because they're stronger than me. It was horrible.
It was told that chemo do not react to everyone the same.
Right.
And what I've learned about chemo with a few people that I come in contact with, when doing chemo, you have to basically physically and mentally ready for chemo, because it basically kills the healthy cell close by, the tumor that is growing or that
Exactly.
is getting treated. And
Yes.
while that process is happening, then you started to deteriorate. You started to lose
Yes.
hair. You started to have the mouth sores that you had and a few other symptoms. So,
Yes.
they always prep, people, but the doctor is not telling you, oh, do exercise, do this, do that. But it's
Right.
always good to prep for exercise. So I can imagine like you were going through this situation, you know, you're being deteriorating. You can feel that inside your body and in your mind, you're having conflicting feelings. You're thinking about your family, you think about your
Right.
children, you're thinking about what will happen to you, you know, tell us some of the thoughts that came through your head while going through this process.
It's a lot of what you mentioned. You're in such a state of panic and you're in such a state of what's going to happen to me. And then with the symptoms the side effects that I was experiencing, you don't have really time to pull your thoughts together because you feel like you're in a whirlwind and one thing is happening after another. And you're just so scared is the only thing I could really think of. And then you're looking at your family, looking at you and watching you deteriorate right in front of their eyes, and you see the fear in their faces. And so you're in a turmoil. It's just a horrible situation to be in. And my husband was stressing, and of course, the medical bills and the things you buy to try to keep you comfortable, and you're trying to get all the right ingredient type of things. And it's like things are moving so fast, and all you want to do is kind of slow things down to kind of gather your thoughts, but it's not happening. Everything is moving so fast. And then you have family and friends coming and calling, and it's madness, really, and you just don't have time to just stop for a minute. And I was just wanting the world to just stop for a moment so I could gather myself, but that did not happen.
You made mention that they refer you to go to the hospice and stuff, but you have 5 boys, you know. When it comes to explaining to those boys, I can imagine that it might have felt hard for you, but you had to let them know that, listen, this is
Yeah.
what was happening to me, or this is what possible going to happen to me. You know, what were some of the thoughts and reaction of your kids, your boys?
My boys have always known me to be a very strong woman. They've never known me to be sick. I'm one of those people that take charge and try to get things done. And so when they saw me falling apart after I told them what was going on and they watched me deteriorate, just watching the look on their faces and the fear, because, you know, you've heard the saying, it's the matriarch that holds the family together. And I knew looking at their faces, if something were to happen to me, it was just, they were just going to fall apart. And my boys are very close to me. And just to watch them break down, and I had to tell them, I cannot have you breaking down, because as a mom, you want to fix everything and you want to fix them. And I told them, I need my strength to try and make it through this. So I cannot fix you right now. You have to be strong for me because I have to pull from your strength. And the boys were just amazing through all of this. It was so hard for them, but they were just there all the time. And I have two sons that live out of town, one out of state, the other one out of town. And they were coming to visit me as though they were still in the same city, because it was just hard for them. They had to come and see because they didn't know what was going to happen the next day. So it was very hard.
When I got the news, my mom had a accident where she fell and bounced her breast. And then a few months after, that's where she started feeling the lump and the pain and stuff. You know, I can remember when hearing the news that she, you know, is been diagnosed with cancer. I didn't know what to do. I'm the only child for my mom, you know, so it's like everything was rest on my shoulder. You know, we had a close relationship. You know, I'm in the UK and I start looking flight straight away, because when the doctor said to me, I said to the doctor, Doc, listen, I don't want you to sugarcoat anything to me. I don't want you to hide anything from me. Give me the facts. Yeah. What's the position of my mom? And I can recall she saying to me, we can't do anything for her. That was devastating.
Yeah.
It was devastating. I start freaking out. I start crying. I start going, you know, my depression, my anxiety, everything start acting up on me. And I booked a flight. Asked me where I get the money from. I had to go to visit my mom. I don't know, as you said, you don't know what tomorrow may bring. I had was to visit my mom, you know. So we booked a flight and we went to Jamaica to see her. But your story had brought to my attention. But before I even go into how I come across your story, you had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Yes. And you briefly explained to us what it is. Yes. But can you give us some more information what it is really, so that people who come across this video can know how serious this cancer is and how it can affect your whole life? And some of the symptoms, because you said that you only had one symptoms, but I'm certain there's more symptoms based on your research, because you have to have research this. So what are some of the symptoms and some of the experience that some other persons may come across with your knowledge?
Well, you mentioned earlier that cancer is different and chemo affects everybody different. And a lot of people have experienced a lot of different symptoms leading up to it. I personally did not. I only had that one symptom of I was starting to get tired because I wasn't using the bathroom. So that waste was accumulating in my body and I knew something was wrong. And cancer is where your body has just become toxic, and that your good cells are being overtaken by the bad cells, and your body is literally dying. And so the tumor, part of my diagnosis was a 12-centimeter mass. And what I've learned about tumors is that the body is trying to save itself. So it knows it's dying because the cancer is trying to kill it. But the body, because we are survival people, our instinct kicks in, and that's internal in our body. So a tumor is actually your body trying to save itself. And so it pulls all the toxins and the parasites and everything out of your body, and it puts it in this sack called a tumor, like a trash bag. And it keeps pulling all of this toxicity out, because if it doesn't pull the toxicity out of your blood, you're going to die of blood toxicity. So the body is trying to save itself with cancer. So it puts all the stuff inside what's called a tumor. And that's why I tell people, when you're going to do a biopsy, just ask the doctor a million questions, because the body has protected itself by making everything go into this tumor, and it's contained in one place if it hasn't gotten too far. And so when the doctor biopsies that tumor and ruptures it, it causes all that stuff that the body was trying to contain in one place to spread throughout your body. And so cancer is trying to kill you, but your body is trying to save you. So it's a strange dichotomy of what's happening in your body, but it's just a horrific thing. And they're finding now that parasites are part of why we have cancer, because our food, our air, our water, everything is just contaminated. It's also stress. Stress is still the number one killer, because it leads to heart attacks, it leads to cancer, it leads to hypertension, it leads to, so we have to find a place to minimize stress. Cancer is a horrible thing that happens to your body.
Had an interview with a doctor a few months ago, and she said that from the very moment that we were born from our mom's womb, we had cancer. It just wasn't activated as yet.
Yes,
And
it's true. Cancer, everybody has cancer cells. It just lays dormant until it doesn't. Right.
Right. And there's this doctor I've listened, because since my mom, I've been listening to so much podcasts, because if I am trying to bring a message across, trying to spread cancer awareness, I have to have some form of knowledge of what I'm speaking about.
Right.
So I tend to watch podcasts surrounding health. And I may not remember the professor's name, because trust me, my memory is whack, but he said cancer have a lot to do with our gut microbiome.
Yes.
On the food we eat, our lifestyle plays a lot where cancer is concerned, and we have to realize that in the olden days, in Bible days, like, these things wasn't a lifestyle but then. And that's one of the reasons why you used to have people live to so much years, 900, 1,000, and the list goes on, 100 and the list goes on, and they never used to, they never had in a car, so you had to walk miles on top of miles where they were going. I was following the story of Moses, and when he left the land of Egypt, they went to so much countries, so much desert, so they had a lot of exercise doing. Their food was minimal. They used to eat probably 1 or 2 per day. Society these days teaching us to eat 3-4 meals per day, right? So
that's too much.
It don't give, and we're going to get in that, because it don't give our body enough time to digest our food. And on your website, I was watching a video when you were speaking about intermittent fasting. I also start engaging into intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting, I have acid reflux. My stomach tend to burn me after eating. And believe you me, intermittent fasting is what carry me through that phase. So, but your video, I came across your video. Like my mom passed in March 2003, last year, right? And when I came across your video, I was like, wow, Why didn't I know this before? Even though nothing could have been done to her at that point. But you step out by faith, and my mother was a woman of God. So maybe, just maybe, I had that opportunity, you know, here in your video, we could have said, but that video had over 3 million views that has been now removed from TikTok.
Yes.
In that video, you expressed what had healed you through the power of God, right?
Yes.
That video, can you confirm that that video give you that highlight to be the person that you are now on social media?
Yes. Very much so.
Okay. All right. So you had cancer, a 12-centimeter tumor that is growing. And for those who do not know what 12-centimeter is, it's probably a size and a half of a grapefruit, a nice big size grapefruit. You
Yeah.
had that within your body. Now you
Yeah.
were going through chemotherapy, you had radiation, your organs was failing, and I can imagine, because I seen a video or a picture of you, Lynette, I'm gonna be straight. That look so frightening. That picture looks so frightening, right? So now you are going through therapy, chemo, radiation. It's having the side
No
effect.
radiation.
No
No
radiation.
radiation, just
Okay.
chemo. Yeah.
Just chemo.
Yeah.
So you decided to, you know what? I'm coming off chemo. This is affecting me. I'd rather take a chance. You step out by faith. Why?
That's that's a great question. The reason I stepped out by faith is at the end of my chemo, and I landed in the hospital with my blood pressure 60/40. It was during COVID protocols at the hospital. And they told my husband, you can't go with her because no one can go in because of COVID. So I was already fading in and out because my organs were starting to shut down and I knew I was dying. And when they took me to ICU and my husband couldn't come, my family couldn't come, I lay there thinking, I'm going to die, looking at some strange doctor's face, and no one with me. And I knew I was dying. So I literally just surrendered and just told God, I guess I'm coming home. And I don't know how long I was out of it. The doctor said, hey, welcome back. And I looked at him and I was disoriented and I realized I was still in the hospital. And I ended up being in the hospital for over 3 weeks after that incident. And when I came home, I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. I was skin and bone. My hair was gone. I looked just a hot mess. And my husband's changing my diapers. And I was bedridden and I'm laying there and I said to God, this cannot be how I heal. There has to be a better way to heal. I can't do this. And so because I was bedridden, I started researching every single day for weeks. And when I felt comfortable with the research found, I literally said to God, I'm going to faith and I'm going to trust your medicines. This medicine is not working for me. So either you heal me or you take me home because I'm not doing this. And God honored my faith and I'm here today. And that is why I share my journey, because God was so merciful to me. And that's what made me decide to step out on faith, because that journey was so horrible for me that I knew if I continued with the treatment and all the side effects I was having, that my family was going to end up burying me.
Before I continue, your husband, I have to applaud him because
Yeah.
he played a magnificent role through your sickness.
Yes.
I never imagined myself being bedridden, never. Because You know, when I was younger, I always said to myself, I do not want to sick to the point where I'm in the hospital. You know,
Yeah.
to God be the glory. I am in my 40s, and the only one time I can remember being in the hospital was a horrible feeling. But you was
Mm,
bedridden, and your husband was taking care of you. You know,
yes.
how how did that make you feel? Do you think that you were blessed to have a husband like him?
I feel like I was really blessed to have a husband like him because he really honored his vows when he said, for better or for worse, through sickness and in health. But at the same time, I felt really horrible because, like I said before, I was a very independent person, and laying there skin and bones and just looking the way I was and him changing my diapers, it just mentally just did something to me. And I knew I could not continue doing that. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do that to him or to my family. So I had to look at something different.
Okay. Um, God bless you and your family, Lynette.
Thank
So
you.
you step out by faith and you ask God to heal us some other way
Yes.
than, you know, the medication that you was going on or you was on. You know,
Yeah.
as I was explaining earlier, with that video that I made mention of, that been taken out from from TikTok, you made mention that medicine, that natural medicine that you use to heal your body. Take us through that process and that journey.
So I actually, when I started researching, all I typed in was people who heal their cancer. I didn't put naturally, I didn't put with medicine. I just said people who heal their cancer. And then different things came up, YouTube videos came up, all kinds of information came up, and I just kept going down the rabbit hole. Every link I found, I would click on it. Every story I found, I would click on it. And I just started researching. And what upset me, if I can be honest with your followers, is there are so many things out there, young king, that can heal us, but we're not told. There are so many things. But God, in his divine wisdom, for some reason, kept bringing me back to the three things that I took all the time, or the three things that I started taking. And when I looked on our very own NIH website here in this country, and I looked up the things that I was taking, it had documented scientific studies that showed that these things kill cancer cells, but it leaves your healthy cells alone. And I thought, why aren't the doctors telling? They're going to watch me die and deteriorate instead of saying, you know what, Lynette, this isn't working for you. How about you try this? There's studies out there, it shows this might help you. No one tells you that. And so when I started taking these natural things and I saw how it was starting to heal my body, and then God gave me the ultimate healing, I felt it was my obligation to share it with the world. And I cannot believe how many people would say, oh, yeah, my dad used that 10 years ago to get rid of his cancer, but they never said anything. Do you know in 10 years how many people you could have possibly saved if you just shared what you know? And I find that either we're not told or people that know won't share it. And when I started researching, I would find people that say they cured their C word,
Mhm.
and I would read their stories, and I was so engaged because I thought I'm finally going to find an answer. When I got to the bottom of the page, it would say for $149.99, click here and we'll send you the information. I'm like, what? I mean, it was crazy. So when I got healed, I told God I was going to share this for free. It's God's medicine, not mine.
And I think that's one of the reasons why your video has been taken down as well, because big pharma do not want people to know these things.
Right.
Because while some doctors genuinely know because of what they've been taught in school, you know, but a lot of them knows, and if you realize a lot of doctors nowadays, they're coming out of, you know, the scientific side of medicine and going into natural medicine, you know,
Yes.
because they know that this is the way to life. And it
Yes.
surprised me because the government, they want the pressure to be eased off them, but yet still they're not teaching us the natural ways to medicine. And if a lot of people would know how and who came up with these lab medicine,
Yes.
why the natural medicine was pushed underneath the rug, and the fight, just like how they had hid the Bible back in the days, this is how they hid the real truth of natural medicine. But if
Right.
people would just go out and research, because they're trying to keep people like you mouth shut, because they do not want
Yes.
these things to get out.
Right.
He don't call himself a healer. He's not a doctor, but he is, and you probably come across him many times. And just like how Dr. Sebi, the whole history about Dr. Sebi, this guy, Yahweh Awaken, Yaki
Yes.
Awaken, yeah, he
Yes.
is on the same path that you are on. And he gets loads of threat day in, day
Yes.
out because of preaching natural healing,
Yes.
right? So you give this natural medicine, and I'm not going to leave out God, because
Yes.
if it wasn't God,
Can't leave out God.
you
Yep.
wouldn't be led to this natural medicine.
Exactly.
Give us these insight of what is this natural medicine that you took that help you to be where you are now, still alive, looking 100% better than when you were in the
Yes.
hospital.
Yes.
Tell us those
Yes.
medicines.
So, as I mentioned before, there are so many medicines. And one of the things, I had it right in front of me. I just got this book. I don't know if your viewers can see it. 25 Forbidden Cures,
Uncensored, yeah.
Uncensored Health. And one of the things that I was taking is the soursop tea from the soursop leaves. It's also called graviola or guanabana, depending on what region you're in, and black seed oil and apricot kernels. And all of those things are on our very own National Institute of Health, showing that it causes apoptosis in the cancer cells, which means it kills them, but it keeps the healthy cells okay. And it was effective in mice, but they said they never went to human trials. And you and I are smart enough to know why they didn't go to human trials.
Right.
So in this book, there was a young man on TikTok who went, I don't know what he does for a living, but someone asked him to come and clean out the house of a well-known surgeon in his town.
Video.
Yes.
I saw that
so
video.
He asked the wife if he could take some of the books because he likes books. And she says, yeah, this surgeon had this book in his library. And it was all these natural cures for what we're dealing with today. And all the young man did was start reading out of this book, and it went viral. TikTok completely banned his entire account. And it wasn't him. He was just reading. They banned his entire account. So the first page, the very first page in this book talks about kryptonite for cancer, like Superman, he can't get next to kryptonite because he starts melting away. So it says, we all remember the old Superman comic books where kryptonite would melt away Superman if he got close to it. Imagine if there was something that could do the same thing for cancer. It's called graviola, otherwise known as soursop. And it says what it does, it works by starving cancer cells. And you know what happens when you starve cancer cells? They stop growing and they die. The very first page in this book talks about that. So it's amazing. And then black seed oil, I don't know if it was Prophet Muhammad that said this, but he's attributed with saying this phrase, that black seed oil cures everything but death, because it's an antioxidant, it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-parasitic, it's anti-aging, it does so much for your body. And then the apricot kernels have within it natural cyanide that God put in the seeds, just like he put in the apple seeds, in the watermelon seeds, in the grape seeds. All of that is natural cyanide. That's why the Bible said, and the seed was for man. Here in the United States, you can't hardly find seeded fruits anymore. Everything is seedless.
I was going to get to that, because
Yes.
that is the reason why they're coming out with these fruits, chemically made lab fruits to give us, because they know the power of these fruits.
Yes, they know that God put the medicine inside the seed. So they're taking the seeds out. And look at us, we're sicker than we've ever been.
Yeah.
But it is just amazing to me how they have made it so that we believe that God's medicine is the fake stuff, but man's medicine is the real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's and you know what? I had to learn that. I was one of those people. I thought man's medicine was the real stuff. And I had to be reminded, look at what man's medicine was doing to me.
Some of the things that I came across when doing my research on Google is, when I try to compare, and this is one of the things I don't get with we as human, we're not doing enough research to help ourselves, because these things is literally on the internet.
Yes.
Chemo is supposed to kill the cancer cell, right? However, when doing that, it damage the healthy cells that surround the tumor.
Right.
The difference between chemo and these therapy is, with natural medicine, it kills the cancer cell, but it do not damage the healthy cell. So why keep going to what men says?
Exactly.
And not trusting, just like how you step out by faith, research. Look at you today.
Yes. And this is 2.5 years later, according to the doctor, I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm healthy and I'm still cancer free. And it's exactly what you said. God has everything to do with this. But people need to understand that chemo and radiation is literally listed as a poison on the CDC website. It's a carcinogenic. So why would you take somebody that's sick, give them poison, and expect them to get better? And it's the things that I'm learning now that it's like, that doesn't make sense. But it's what we've been programmed to believe.
So, Lynette, your story is amazing. But, earlier I made mention that, we were talking about the intermittent fasting.
Yes.
You are now on intermittent fasting, right? And you made mention that you intermittent fasting every day.
Yes.
What are some of the benefits of intermittent fasting?
So intermittent fasting, when you rest from food, it gives your body time to start healing itself. So when our bodies are constantly eating, our liver is constantly working to detox what we're putting in our body. Our digestive system is constantly working. Our pancreas is constantly having to secrete insulin to break down the sugars in the foods that we're eating. Our lymphatic system is constantly having to work to drain it. When you rest from food, it gives your liver a chance to rest and only purge what you've been eating that day. And it causes your body to go into apoptosis. So when you start resting from food, your body needs energy. So one of the things that starts killing off first is those bad cells that it doesn't need. And then after it goes through getting rid of those bad cells, it starts eating any sugars in your body. And then if you don't have any sugars in your body, then it starts eating the fat in your body. So it's so many ways to help your body to regain its health, because our bodies was meant to repair and to heal itself. But it cannot repair itself if you're constantly stuffing food in your mouth, 3-4 meals a day, snacks in between, sugary drinks, and then we don't stop to rest. So our bodies is stressed. So our nutrient isn't getting to our cells like we need to. And then the foods that we're eating is highly processed foods, has no nutritional benefits at all, has no magnesium, has no potassium, has nothing beneficial for our bodies. So we're just hurting ourselves. So when we rest our body from food, it causes it to start healing. And when you do that every day, you just notice you just feel better, you feel more energetic, you look younger, you just feel better. I'm going to be 60 years old this year. And
Whoa.
I don't mind saying that because the foods that I'm eating now, my body craves it. It doesn't crave sugar and all that stuff anymore. It craves God's natural foods that we were meant to put in our bodies. Bodies react to that and responds to that. Now, if I eat a piece of sugar, my body just like, oh, what is that? So you know what your body needs. And people message me all the time. How do you eat? What do you eat? You know what you should eat to be healthy. Most of us do. We just don't want to.
I can get attest to that because I myself been doing intermittent fasting and I can feel the changes in my body. Like
Yeah.
I said, I struggle with you know, gastro problem, indigestion. I struggle with that. And
Yeah.
since I start intermittent fasting, I can feel it's leaving I've like literally just going away. I haven't felt the way I felt before. So I really recommend intermittent fasting. You don't have to
Yes.
wait till you're sick to do
Right.
intermittent fasting. It is a part of a healthy lifestyle. So I would advise people to do that.
Yeah.
But Lynette, I just want to say thank you for coming out and sharing your story with the Ivy Cancer podcast. I really do
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And one of the things is that on the podcast, I've learned from this. Every time I'm speaking about this, I have to give him props. There's this podcaster called Stephen Bartlett. On his podcast, he asks his guests to leave a question for the next guest coming up. And
Mm.
because my podcast is not about, it's about health. And when you're going through sickness, you need a little bit of encouraging words. So
Yes.
I change that to my format, in which I ask my guests to leave an encouraging word for the next guest coming up. But this guest I had, was it last week? Last week. She's a doctor here in the UK. She works with NHS. Her name is Dr. Amanda. And her encouraging word is, life doesn't have to just happen to you. Take charge of your life and live an incredible one. That is
Wow.
her encouraging words to you.
I
And I'm
love
sure
that.
you're taking charge of your life at the present
Yes.
moment. Lynette, keep doing what you're doing,
Thank
and
you.
you're putting, and when I read the Bible, when Moses and even a few prophets, when they was given a mission to go out, to preach, to warn, to teach, they were fearful
Yes.
because they are normal being
Right.
and they would be prosecuted if breaking certain laws. And what God told them, I will be with you.
Yes.
Fear not, Lynette. God will be with you because you're
Yes.
doing his work. So stay blessed and
Thank
keep
you.
doing what you're doing, spreading
Thank
the
you
good
so
words.
much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care, Lynette. And
Bye-bye.
bless up your husband and your kids.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
a good day.
And you. Bye.